Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, April 6, 2020. Let's take a look at some space weather real quick. Solar wind speeds coming around 319.9 kilometers per second with a density of 2.3. We finally have a day without a sunspot. I know you see the active region in the northern part of our star as it's turning away Earth facing. It is no longer carrying these same traits that qualified it to be a sunspot at this time. So now this is our first day without sunspots. Give us 71 days in 2020 without sunspots. That's 73% of the year. Take a look at our TCI. It's dropped just a little bit. 3.75 KP indices coming in at 0, and the 24-hour max is coming in at 1. And we do have a Earth-facing coronal hole as we speak right now. So usually when we have Earth-facing coronal holes like we do right now, nothing major, but we have one, with the KP indices being low between 0 and 1 and 1 and 2, that's usually quake watch territory. We have seen quite a bit of uptick in seismic activity across the West Coast, the Plain States, and sprinkled minor earthquakes across the eastern part of the United States. So I can't say that if we do get a 6.5 to 7.0, it's possible it could be in the vicinity of the United States, perhaps Alaska, perhaps further back near Russia once again. Nonetheless, we could be on a quake watch for the next 24 to 36 hours for anything of a 6.5 magnitude to a 7.0. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Let's go over to the grandsolarminimum.com. Give me 1 second here. Here we have the overall look at the sun over the next several days. And right now we have that sunspot area that was now, or was AR 2759, I believe. Get my arrow out. That's it right there. No longer a sunspot. Here's the coronal holes. These are Earth-facing. So at KP is low, we could see some earthquake activity in the next 24 to 36 hours. That's our next sunspot possibility. Now, if you remember, back around March 13th, we had a sunspot in the same location. And just as experience of the last 4 years that I've done this, it is not uncommon for a sunspot to be active and then go away on the western limb and then still be in the same spot when it comes back around 20-some days later. And here we are, that particular active region in that latitude is indeed what we believe the last active region we had in that southern 30 latitude, which goes back to somewhere around March 13th. So, interestingly enough, a lot of you folks out there might think that the information might be on a loop here, but no, this is typical solar activity, and sometimes these active regions can hold it together long enough to where they'll make anywhere from 2 to 3 to maybe even 4 passes before it finally fizzles out. And we've seen that as well during solar minimum as well. So I just kind of wanted to point that out because I can see where it looks like this is an over and over type thing, but I have seen this throughout the past few years where a couple of active regions will hold their position and stick around for a while. All right, let's take a look at some prior stats from our KP indices, and it's been low here lately. Now, we did have a couple of B-class flares that were emitted from the sunspot before it started to decay. It's no longer a sunspot. So a couple days ago, or actually several hours ago, I should say, we were experiencing B4. Nothing major, very, very minor. But I will note this is the first time in a very long time that we've even had to talk about things such as solar flares. It's been a minute. But B's and A's are just terribly low in the first place. So really not worth mentioning, but hey, it was a solar flare. So we'll go ahead and give it some airtime. All right, let's take a look here at Watchers.news. Flooding on James River persists for more than a year in South Dakota. This was an area that had trouble last year with crops, harvesting, planting. So not surprised, but I'm glad to see that someone made a follow-up on this. Flooding on the James River in South Dakota has been persisting for more than a year. During the 2019 flood season, the water levels reached 16.2 feet, its highest since 2010. Coincidentally, was the end of another solar minimum. Forecasters are expecting major to moderate inundations in 23 states, including some areas hit by last year's significant flooding, especially in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. In March of 2019, a bomb cyclone dumped heavy rains and triggered flooding in the area, which has been occurring until the present. 6 river gauges of the James River in eastern South Dakota, Columbia, Stratford, Ashton, Huron, and Fordsburg and Mitchell have been above flood stage for more than 300 days now. Stratford and Ashton have been moderate floods, while the rest have been minor inundations. Many areas in South Dakota recorded twice the average amount of precipitation in 2019. Snow and rainfall were relentless stream flow gauges at Columbia and Stratford say above flood stage since April of 2019. Now, this is according to the data from the U.S. Geological Survey. The James River flows into the Missouri River at the border between Nebraska and South Dakota, heading eventually into the Gulf of Mexico. On March 23, 2020, the operational land manager or imager on Landsat 8 took an image showing the high water levels on the James River, a tributary of the Missouri River in eastern South Dakota. And another image taken on March of 2015, it shows the same region during a more typical spring. Most of these present flooding on the James Rivers is contained in low-lying agricultural areas. Very important to mention there. The river levels fell in the winter because the ground was fully saturated when it froze last fall, explains Amy Parkin, a meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Aberdeen. As the snow and river ice melted over the past few weeks, the water had nowhere to go. The unusually flat landscape in the area has also contributed to flood water's length. The elevation along the river only drops around 100 feet from the borders of North Dakota to Nebraska. The riverbanks are fairly low, and the water does not flow quickly. When there is a strong southerly wind, we actually have seen the river flow north. And here are the satellite images. On the right is current. On the left is March of 2015. Might add that we were in the right smack dab in the middle of a weak maximum, but in a maximum. Not as much moisture falling, not as much cosmic radiation in the atmosphere, so we don't have these bomb cyclones. Thanks to Watchers.news for putting together all this information. NOAA said widespread flooding is expected in April 2020, but it will not be as severe or prolonged as the historic floods in 2019. Dozens of states along the rivers of Mississippi, Missouri, and Arkansas. NOAA added that major to moderate flooding is possible in 23 states from the northern plains to the Gulf Coast. The most significant flooding is likely in the Dakotas and Minnesota, which were hit by severe floods last year. And we kind of went over this the other day, talking about these areas being the worst. I know South Dakota especially. Hell, Matt even said here in Nebraska we saw a lot of standing water. I don't see as big as a flood risk in Nebraska this year. However, they are still in the minor area in the southeastern part of Nebraska. The areas we're going to be watching up here, very, very severe. We're still going to keep an eye on the Mississippi, the Ohio River Valley. Across the south, we are seeing a whole lot of moisture, and they're in a pattern. Same up in this area right here in the Midwest. So lots to look forward to. And looking to give accurate crop reports this year, updates. not quite yet in the plant just yet, but some interesting weather too to talk about here a little bit later. Severe damage disrupted some communications as Category 5 severe tropical cyclone Harold hits Vanuatu. It says this happened around 11 local time, April 6, 2020. Maximum sustained winds of 134 miles per hour. Severe damage disrupted communications, and flooding in low-lying areas were reported across Sanama, Malampa, and Panama provinces. The Vanuatu Meteorology and Geohazards Department warned that the powerful winds will continue to pound the province of Sanama, Panama, and Palampa and Shefa. Residents in the Sanama, Malampa, Torba, and Panama said Monday their provinces were devastated. Communication lines were down in the worst affected areas. There's lots of damage in Sanama. They lost lots of buildings, and said the Vanuatu Red Cross. We don't know if we can provide any supports to the island because we are not allowed to travel inter-island and are waiting for the government to make that decision. No injuries have been reported at the time of the press. Red Cross volunteers are supporting their community by helping people evacuate, undertaking assessments, and sharing life-saving info, according to the International Federation of Red Cross, Asia Pacific. As of 9 UTC, Harold was located about 22 miles northeast of Amrium and 50 miles north of Epi. The storm was moving in an easterly-southeasterly direction at 12 miles per hour over the past 3 hours. This thing looks like a pretty nasty storm, folks. Look at that. Thanks again to Watchers.news for all the info. Some great pictures and videos of the storm. Thankfully, no injuries reported, no fatalities, but this is fresh. So we will keep you guys up to date on this as we get more information. But there is a lot of structural damage, a lot of trees down, a lot of power lines down. So this storm definitely hit hard, but right now we are not reporting any loss of life. All right, so I was reading this before tonight's show, and I'll go ahead and read you guys. It's not very long. Science team points out a new failure of a climate model. Imagine that. Carbon soot from industrial process in the air. That's what this black stuff is here. Carbon soot, BC, black carbon. Atmospheric black carbon or soot formed by incomplete combustion of fossil fuels, biofuels, or biomass causes warming by absorbing sunlight and enhancing the direct radiative forcing of the climate. As black carbon ages, it is coated with material due to gas condensation and collisions with other particles. These processes lead to variation in the composition of black carbon containing particles and the arrangement of their internal components, a mixture of black carbon and other materials. Though global climate models do not fully account for these heterogenics, instead, black carbon containing particles are typically modeled as uniformly coated spheres with identical aerosol composition, and these simplifications lead to overestimated absorption. Now, the paper had this to say about that statement. Absorption by black carbon strongly affects regional and global climate, yet large discrepancies between standard model predictions and regionally specific observations often observed absorption lower than expected. Imagine that. Raise questions about the current understanding of black carbon absorption and its atmospheric impacts. Through a combination of measurement and modeling, our analysis resolves the discrepancy by showing that particular laboratory designs or atmospheric conditions engender distinct compositional heterogeneity, easy for me to say, among particles containing black carbon. Lower than expected absorption results largely from an increased heterogeneity, although slightly lowered absorption occurs in purely homogeneous systems. Big words there. This work provides a framework that explains globally disparate observations, and that can be used to improve estimates of black carbon global impact. In a nutshell, In their zeal to model and prove global warming, climate researchers assume that all carbon black particles ejected in the atmosphere are created equal and stay equal. In reality, that's not the case, and it's a huge oversimplification of what actually occurs in nature. It's equivalent to saying that every grain of sand on the beach is exactly the same size, shape, and composition, or that snowflakes aren't unique, but all exactly the same. Even a grade schooler knows nature doesn't work like that. Once again, climate science fails the tenets of basic science. And then he goes on to recommend this book here, Black Carbon, Short-Lived Climate Pollutants Hold a Key to Climate Change. So that book is written by Robert H. Nelson. Check it out. It is available on Amazon. And moving on over to Iceland real quick. Hang on a second. Get a little parched there. All right, spring blizzard slams Iceland. Almost 5 feet of snow in a day buries cars. Residents dig themselves out of houses. Now, this story talks about how this ship is really the only choice of transportation right now. The ship they talk about in the story is transporting some coronavirus-related testing kits. I don't know if it's for laboratories to be tested or whatnot. Anyway, the show must go on, so they are sailing out, and they are really the only ones recommended to be traveling in this condition. We're talking 50 to 60 knots of wind here. The wind speed reached 50 to 60 knots. Visibility was next to none. For the past few days, roads have been impassable. All flights canceled to this area. This only passable route is by ship, and the reason why they say that is because of their GPS systems and how precise they are. Makes sense. See if we can check out some of the footage here without getting copyright strikes.
Þetta nú fyrsta skipti sem ég hef verið hérna, vetur á Selfossi.
Yikes.
Og ekki.
Balmy and snowy in the beginning of spring. They're probably going to keep that boat not from going back out as well once they make their trips for this mission that they're on right now. But heavy snow and strong winds created blizzard conditions this weekend. In Southwest Island, numerous residents had to dig themselves out of their houses through the largest snow banks they have ever seen in their town. And it's April. This is supposed to be towards spring. I think somewhere around 150 centimeters of snow fell in one day at one point. Numerous roads were closed in many parts of the country. I don't want to go to their page for sure. And SOT.net is the location of this article. I got a couple of them actually from here. We got lots of snow to talk about. Blanket of snow continues to cover large parts of mainland Greece. A foot of snowfall in just a few hours. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you all know why we have so much snow falling in a short period of time. The answer is cosmic radiation, highly charged particles. Think of these highly charged particles in our atmosphere as magnets for water vapor. All right? And each individual particle is absorbing as much moisture and vapor it can in one particle. Except there's tons of cosmic radiation in our atmosphere right now. Tons of highly charged particles. And in fact, I showed you guys on our space weather station. We're not quite the record levels, but we are at 10.1%. If you guys take a look at the bottom where it says today, plus 10.1%, that is the amount of cosmic radiation we have in our atmosphere. 7-day change is actually down 0.7%. Let's get back to the article here. Many parts of northern and central Greece remain covered by a thick white blanket of snow, highly unusual occurrence in April. This rare spring snow that arrived in Greece several days ago continues to surprise those living in the northern parts of the mainland of the country. Instead of flowers and bees, millions of Greeks continue to see snow-covered mountains reminiscent of Christmas. On Saturday, the mountainous areas, western Greece, as well areas in the Thessaly, received a heavy snowfall. Let's check out these flakes. Look at that. Huge snowflakes. Again, these highly charged particles, magnets, absorbing as much water vapor to the particle as they can. Obviously, it's coming down the frozen fashion, so these snowflakes almost look like they're nickel size here. Not bad for April. Take a look at some more snowfall. Winter wonderland for these folks. A fresh 60 centimeters of snowfall was reported this week from Seli Imathis in North Greece. These are some gorgeous pictures here, but again, these photos look like they're straight out of December, early January. And you can see this is a tall tale right here, or this is the telling tale, I should say. You've got your spring blooms underneath blankets of snow here. This is going to do some damage to the vegetation for sure. And another article from SOT.net, well, they had all the snowstorms, so I had to go here, right? Another spring snowstorm that brings lots of snow. Now, this is in the Sierra, so this is mountainous, but still, a pair of spring storms swept through from the Sierra over the weekend on Monday, forcing travelers to use chains on the mountainous pass on I-80 and Highway 50, blanketing the region with as much as 3 feet of new snow at the higher elevations. What would have been a late season boost to the Tahoe and ski industry has transformed into a what-if moment, as resorts from Squaw Valley to Heavenly Valley have been shuttered for the season since late March because of the current coronavirus outbreak and social distancing requirements. So no matter how hard you try to avoid talking about it, folks, it's everywhere. And this has got to be on their minds. The skiers, I mean, this is beautiful weather, perfect weather for skiers. Unfortunately, we're not having any of that right now. And I just saw a question in the chat, Steve Jackson, what's the highest cosmic ray percentage ever? That was 11.7 in February 2009. So we have been close to that record. We did hit 11% earlier last week. I believe, and Mari does too, we will see that that record get tested this month for sure. So as you see, coronavirus is affecting business in many ways. Mother Nature threw these ski resorts a late bone. This is going to keep them open for, well, and not just open, but just gorgeous conditions. Unfortunately, this is snow just for show. Snow for show. A winter weather advisory expires Monday for Tahoe, where 13 inches of snow had fallen at Incline Village. Mammoth Mountain is expected to get around 35 inches of snow. I know some of these ski resort owners are cringing right now. It says here the storm has left unstable slabs of wind-drifted snow and softer slabs of storm snow on the steep slopes in both exposed and sheltered terrain.
Do you think they could have added more S words?
I mean, it is SOT.net. So the storm has left slabs of wind-drifted snow and softer slabs of storm snow on the steep slopes, unsheltered terrain. The center warned in a statement. Recreating on slopes where the problems could exist to be trigger avalanches. Good grief. Lots of snow. Snow, snow, snow. It's spring, but, it's still snow. And wait till I get to my GFS report tonight. Thank you very much.
Jeez,
and Matt, our farmer friend out in Nebraska, has shared this article with me a few days ago. Beef costs are up in stores, but futures are down. Senators want to know why. And Matt left me a comment saying this is going to kill farmers right now. And I really wanted to cover this because we did some grocery shopping tonight. We had some groceries delivered. We paid almost $28 for 5 pounds of ground beef today. So prices are clearly going up. An Iowa senator says there's something fishy about falling cattle market price at a time when beef is at the top seller among consumers stocking up during the COVID-19 pandemic. Republican Charles Grassley, a senior Judiciary Committee member, told reporters Tuesday he will ask the Justice Department and the U.S. Department of Agriculture to look into live cattle future prices that declined in March as meat packers saw prices rise for the boxed beef they sold to grocery store and other retailers. In the last 3 weeks, live cattle futures have dropped 3.5% on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. That may be understandable in a normal situation, but this is happening while American consumers bought 77% more meat year over year in the month of March. The spike in grocery buying has caused higher beef values for the big four meat packers and a decrease in the value of Iowa farmers. Grassley followed Montana Senator Steve Dents, North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer, and John Hoeven, South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds, all Republicans, by the way, and Montana Democratic John Tester, in noting potential irregularities in the industry where four companies control 80% of meat processing. The companies are Tyson, JBS USA Holdings, Cargill, and National Beef Packing Corporation, or company. The cattle industry and some lawmakers raised concerns with USDA last year about cattle pricing margins after a fire damaged a Kansas beef processing facility. Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue said the department would investigate to determine if there was price manipulations, but there's been no report yet. And this is interesting to me because there's no reason why our farmers should be affected by the price of beef at a time like this. So I'm glad to see that we have a Republican senator who is going to start investigating on what's going on here. Futures are down, but prices in stores are up. And the people that are making the most money, not the farmers. And that's the problem. And that's a big problem. So I want to put this article on blast tonight and make everyone aware that we are seeing some irregularities. And I can speak to this as truth because, like I said, Mari got around 5 pounds of ground beef today for about $27. Yeah, that's kind of high. Take a look here. Atmosphere may gear up for severe weather outbreak over Easter. Forecasters are closely monitoring and develop weather patterns, potential severe thunderstorms to ignite across portions of the southern and eastern United States during the upcoming Easter weekend. A slow-moving storm will continue to crawl through the southwest states this week, and the forward movement of the storm will be a key factor in determining whether severe weather erupts or mostly benign thunderstorms pop up instead by Saturday and Sunday. So good news is that there's a couple of things that can play out here. It won't be so bad, and then here we go, we're talking about tornado peaks. Check this out. July through August is upstate New York. Mari, you've lived up here before. You ever really noticed tornadoes up this way anyway?
Very, very rarely. There's been a few. I think the biggest one we had in this area was in, let's say, probably 30 to 45 minutes away. I'm trying to remember the town. Mechanicville, New York. If you look up the Mechanicville tornado.
Yeah, that's down there by Clifton Park.
That was probably the most severe tornado.
Last year we had one, remember? We had a couple tornadoes in upstate New York. No, not as bad.
One, but the Mechanicville one was very damaging for that community. I think it's about a half hour away from us.
So, scenario 2 would be the cooler and drier air reaches farther south than it is slated to, and that would suppress the severe weather. Even the severe weather that we could get over Easter, they're not suggesting anything tornadic. There's chances, but not as bad. But they're still saying that we will have chances for hail, flash flooding, damaging wind gusts. So, I mean, it's still going to be severe, but hopefully not as, tornadic as it could have been. But the second scenario is probably more than likely to happen because we are going to see some colder air moving further south. I'm actually surprised when we go into this, the GFS outlook. And here we go. Meteorologists warn winter may return to the northeast. That's a very misleading headline because it makes it sound like it's coming back, like it's back and staying. And when you look at the GFS, you kind of wonder what's going on. After early spring warmth surges into part of the east through the middle of the week, winter looks to return ahead of Easter weekend. The surge of warmth is set to spread from the center of the country to the northeast into midweek. Temperatures will top out near the 70 in parts of the Ohio Valley. By Tuesday, D.C. may be near 80 degrees Fahrenheit by Wednesday. A sharp change in temperatures are in store for the eastern half of the country by late week. The cold front will sweep across, and according to this map here, I think we've already answered our question for the severe weather over the weekend. Late week, we have some really cold air set up across the northern plains, the Midwest, and into the south. So chances are we could see a lower chance of severe weather for the south over the Easter weekend. But look at this. Snow potential. Thursday through Friday. That's right, folks. Snow. Several inches of rain in higher terrain. Rapid temperature change. That's grand solar minimum stuff right there. Rapid temperature change. Colder springs. Late plant seasons. Flooding rains. An abundance of moisture all over the map, really, guys. South, northeast, Midwest. Let's check out the GFS real quick. Let's go do it in our handy-dandy weather map. There we go. Before we go into the tropical tidbits, let's see what NOAA has in store for us here on their 3-day forecast as we look at the beautiful clouds passing by. And here we go, weather map. There we go. So that was today's map, obviously pretty much useless. Let's take a look at what we have in store for tomorrow. Heavy rain, severe in parts of central Indiana, southwest Ohio. Watch out, Dayton, Springfield, Middletown, Cincinnati, parts of northern Kentucky also in that loop. Salem, Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana. Guys, also be aware, severe weather is on the way. We are going to be warm in this part of the country tomorrow, too. That's part of the reason why we could see severe weather. And then we get to Wednesday, midweek, and we start to see some things changing a little bit. Temperatures in northern plains. More severe weather chances for Kentucky and Tennessee, mainly the western parts of those states. So let's take a look at our GFS outlook, shall we? So this is right now or tomorrow. Rain across Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia. The Ohio Valley will see some light showers, moderate on Tuesday. Before the Northeast and others will get in on the action. Chilly enough in the upper elevations in upstate New York to possibly see some snowflakes Wednesday morning early. And then this is where the cold front comes in, guys. We still have that warmer air. Rain again for the Ohio Valley into Pennsylvania. Look at that. Thursday night, April 9th, we got some snowflakes flying around the capital region of New York, Buffalo, Erie, Pennsylvania. Lots of cold air behind this moving in. Now, these mainly are going to make it cold at night. This is not going to be like 20s in the daytime, but we're definitely going to be cold enough overnight to see snowflakes in parts of the Northeast, believe it or not, by the 10th of April. But we're not done. More snow to wrap around by Friday as temperatures drop even more into the evening and overnight hours. Could end up seeing a dusting to 1.5 inches to 2 inches on the grassy surfaces from this light snow. As you see, as the daybreak comes, we get more of a rain-snow mix by Saturday morning. And then that system moves out, cold air staying in the northern plains. And look at this. The parts of western South Dakota and Wyoming getting some heavy snow on Sunday, April 12th. Severe storms possible for Sunday, April 12th, Easter Sunday. But I believe that we'll see that colder air make its way down here and really suppress this. GFS doesn't agree with me, but I have a pretty good feeling this cold air will be further south by the end of the week. It is Monday, so things can change. But for right now, GFS is warning of severe weather, heavy rains, flash flooding, hail, and damaging winds, possibly some tornado, but right now not looking likely. But we will keep the watch out for that. And that system will move up the coast into the northeast by Monday, and that will be like the ridge and fridge we were talking about. Because when we get Monday night into Sunday, rapid temperature drop right there. We go from rain and we wake up Tuesday with snow showers in parts of New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, and lingering lake effect snows, believe it or not, folks, because that wind will be cold Tuesday evening in the western part of New York, Buffalo, the South Towns, and Erie, PA. This is all lake effect related as these showers taper off Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, flare up again over the northeast, light snow, more heavy snow coming from Montana, though. On the back end of this, once again, Wyoming inundated with another decent, significant snowstorm. More rain for the Tennessee Valley and Ohio Valley by Thursday. That's midweek late next week. And we're not done with the cold air yet. We warm back up here. We get some rain for this. And then this low pressure system, big enough just to drag that cold air back into the Ohio Valley. Yes, April 18th, snow showers in and around Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Buffalo. And by the time we get to Sunday, the rest of the state of New York will see a chance of flurries. Meanwhile, Illinois, Indiana, rain and snow. I mean, we're seeing it all, folks. Still cold April 19th, snow in Pennsylvania, snow in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Michigan, Detroit, watch out. You could get a light dusting to 2 inches on that. And that's April 20th. More snow moving into the northeast by April 20th. Heavy showers and storms predicted in the south, which is why we're thinking we could see some flood stages down here in the south. But they get a few systems that bring some heavy rain. But by the time we get to the 21st of April, look at that. More snow. A week after we see that weak disturbance late this weekend, we get another light chance for snow and cold that's sinking all the way down in the south. Georgia, Panhandle of Florida, April. Now, pattern flip is happening. We're going to see a warm up in the northwest and cool down in the eastern part of the United States. And this is for April 22nd. Look at these temperatures. High temperatures for Ohio, Cincinnati, 51 degrees, April 22nd. High temperatures for Albany, New York, 48 degrees. Southern Tennessee, high for 52 degrees. 55 in Kansas City. 51 in Indianapolis, 50 in Toledo, 45 in Akron, 42 in near Pittsburgh. April 22nd. Wow. I mean, they started off the month. Look at this. This is how we start April. Nice and spring-like. Heck, I know you people that like golf probably wish you can get on those courses right now. Today, Saturday is beautiful. Sunday, yeah, nice day. And then today, it's even warmer in the south. But now, Tuesday is the last teaser here as we start getting the cold front moving in Wednesday into Thursday. Look at this colder air overnight. Still freezing in the northern plains and the northeast. I mean, we struggle to get into the 40s, guys. Low 40s, high 30s for the most part in the northeast. I'll go ahead and put that on loop. Mari, would you like to say hello to everybody in the chat tonight?
I can do that, Jake. We got a good old bunch of people here in the chat. First, I'd like to thank St. Louis Arch for the super chat or sticker. I don't remember what it was. I'd like to say hi to all our members in the chat. We've been talking about all kinds of stuff in the chat. The meat prices. Jesse, thank you for sending me that link. Jesse has some good ideas about splitting a cow from a local farm and sharing the meat would be the probably cheapest option, Jake, since meat prices are sort of wonky. I think it's cheeky that these markets are charging the prices that they're doing, and then the farmer gets ripped off. That really sucks, and I hope that's an eye-opener to everyone, experiencing this in the markets, to think again to where their food comes from and perhaps buy from local farms at all times possible. So there's always, I know we have a few CSAs around here, and we did in Buffalo as well, where they have different packages and all that. So definitely a great time to connect with your local farms. Let me see. I don't really have a whole lot. Jesse had some magic solutions because I'm out of spray disinfectant. I hate that.
There you go.
And I was talking about Instacart. That got crazy popular now that no one can leave their house. And I know here locally, it's almost a week wait to schedule.
Yeah, and take advantage of it while you can.
I know the schedule is a little weird. Like I tried just to get some basics because I don't want to go into my stash, so I'm just trying to top our supplies up as we use them. And yeah, the Instacart is a very long wait here. I'm not sure what people are experiencing. I have yet to venture outside the house. We're on week 4, right, Jake?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we're heading into week 4. Wow, jeez, it's been a while.
Jill's like, domestic violence is going up, and I told everyone in the chat, I haven't turned homicidal yet or anything. It's been rather relaxing and pleasant in our house.
So far.
I'm going to kill you.
Get in there and make me a sandwich.
So, that's all.
That's
I'm
all.
just so tired, Jake. I think it's the stress. It makes me tired and depressed.
Sure. So. Well, guys, expect I'll probably do a quick update tomorrow at some point. I'd like to try to keep a daily show at least Monday through Friday. Tomorrow's show will probably just a spontaneous time. We used to keep a morning schedule. We will get back to that at some point, I promise, but I'd at least like to still do an update tomorrow. And then Wednesday night, we'll do another live broadcast. And hopefully we can do another call-in show on Friday. We started to get some new callers and stuff. So
I would like to do an earlier
on the
show
call-in
on Friday. See if I can message a few of our members.
Maybe do it like at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I think that would be a great time.
We'll try at 4 p.m. Maybe we can get some people overseas to get in on the action as well.
I wonder if I could lure Stormy in over. I don't know. He's still recovering from pneumonia.
Yes.
Double pneumonia.
Double pneumonia.
And
Possibly COVID.
Possibly COVID, because he had conjunctivitis, which apparently a lot of people have symptoms of that alongside the virus. And he actually, his hometown, Wassel, is one of the original first places in England to come down with COVID because of the ski trip of kids from Italy. I'm just
crazy stuff.
He's doing well.
Me too. Glad to hear it for sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in once again to our Monday night edition. We hope you'll join us tomorrow and the rest of the week with Grand Solar Minimum news updates throughout the week. Anything is breaking, and it doesn't matter what the time is, we will jump on live and cover it if it's noteworthy. Until then, guys, everyone stay safe. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.